long before Gamergate, times before having the freedom of marriage, back during the dark days, Nintendo released their two most LGBT positive games, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. Tellius is gay. Before we jump into this, I want to give a warning. Don't look at the comment section. If you want to be a disrespectful, backwards-minded clown, please leave this video now. I know that won't stop any dirty homophobes from posting their disgusting and wrong opinions, and it definitely won't stop them from harassing me and sometimes my friends on other social media sites. But it's always worth trying. The Fire Emblem series has always had undertones of same-sex relationships. Before Path of Radiance, there was a character or two who wasn't heterosexual. But once intelligent systems graced us with the land of Tellius, the gay floodgates opened. I'd like to discuss the LGBT aspects in the Tellius duology, specifically relationships. It's really funny to me that Fire Emblem is easily Nintendo's most hated IP, but it's arguably their most progressive. It has to be a coincidence, right? Gamers can't be homophobic. That's impossible. Tellius is gay. I went through each and every character in Tellius and compiled a list of the strongest same-sex pairings that I want to talk about. We have Alencia and Lucia, Rayson and Tabarn, Nephany and Heather, Zelgius and Sephiran, Ike and Ranulf, and of course, Ike and Soren. There are also three other characters who possibly fall under the LGBT umbrella: Gottry, Kaiza, and the glorious and fabulous Oliver. Let's break these ships down. Alencia Rydell Crimea. My absolute favorite character from the Tellius duology. This queen is a fierce woman who evolves from a powerless royal to a powerful queen who relentlessly fights for justice. Alencia grew up with two noble sibling warriors, Erica and Lucia and Joffrey. These three were inseparable friends, almost like family. Lucia and Joffrey both swore allegiance to Alencia, but Lucia always seemed significantly closer to Alencia than her brother was, and that's because they're lovers. The relationship details between these gal pals were planted in Path of Radiance, but bloomed in Radiant Dawn. In Radiant Dawn, Lucia is a devoted knight who nearly gives her life for her queen. After Alencia almost loses Lucia, she talks about how Lucia is her other half. Despite Alencia's canon ending with Lucia's brother Joffrey, she never says anything of that romantic magnitude to him. In fact, Lucia also has a canon pairing as well. I guess if you want to call it a pairing, if she has an A support with Bastion, they receive an ending where they talk about an affair between the two. It's kind of weird. But between these two endings, neither are written as Lucia's normal ending. Where the queen went, Lucia followed. Their love was fabled to be stronger than even most blood sisters. That's gay. That ending sounds significantly more romantic than Alencia and Lucia's canon ending. These two, they gay. Each heron has a pairing. The gentle Leanne has the cunning Naysala. The majestic Raphael has the powerful Nyla. And the restless Rayson has the hawk king Tabarn. These two lovebirds are all but confirmed to be together. There's a mountain of evidence for these two, with absolutely nothing to suggest otherwise. These bird bros go beyond the bromance. They make many comments that indicate love, from gentle, loving words, such as Rayson not wanting to wake Tabarn because he looks so comfortable in his sleep, to vigorously horny quips where Tabarn talks about tying Rayson up in bed. But that's a joke. He would never tie Rayson up. Unless the bond between these two is unbreakable. They both display great admiration towards one another. They grow together. Rayson even strives to be like Tabarn, which is incredibly unlike heron behavior. Neither bird has a paired ending, so there is absolutely nothing stopping this ship from sailing. They're one of the most paired and loveliest couples, in all of Tellius. Anyone who has played Radiant Dawn knows big ol' lesbian energy Heather the Thief, and anyone who has explored Fire Emblem outside of the recent titles knows of the country girl Nephany. These two country girlies are very much lovers. I know Nephany's the country girl out of these two, but I really like to imagine that after the war, they settled down on a farm, raised some cattle, and grew old together. Oh, that's such a lovely image. Many people pair Heather with Ileana, which I also find valid, but I find Heather and Nephany's bond more natural. On top of all that yeehaw, I just adore their dynamic. Nephany's a shy country gal who thinks about her country and its people, while that last Heather got her trotting harness on, looking for some sugar. It's like the southern lesbian version of the already incredibly white movie, The Spectacular Now. You should watch that, it's a good movie. Heather's personality is a bit of an issue. They wrote her sexuality to be her personality, which is just a common problem in Fire Emblem. While it isn't as terrible as other characters in the series, it's still there, and should be known that she is not the best representation of LGBT. But good thing there are so many other LGBT couples in Tellius. Everyone's heard of the tortoise and the hare, but have you heard the Prime Minister and the biggest bottom in Fire Emblem? That's my favorite book. Zelgius and Sephiran, two partners in crime, who are absolutely f***ing. Sephiran is a beautiful man with long black hair, very gentle and very kind, when he gets his way. And then there's Zelgius. He's strong, stoic, heroic, and a puppet to his lover. And he is the biggest bottom in all of Fire Emblem. All because Sephiran was his master. I know the term master was a thing back in medieval times, but man, the romantic undertones between the two really push for master to mean something else entirely. These two are very close. Zelgius clearly loves Sephiran and would do anything for him. He would even kill someone's dad. Sephiran doesn't show his love as publicly as Zelgius, but when Zelgius dies, Sephiran says he lost a part of his body. That's love! That is love! If that isn't enough, near the end of the game, there's a flashback.
If I join you, will I be redeemed?
I cannot say. At the very least, however, you will no longer be alone. And neither will I.
Lovers! They are lovers! This right here is more convincing than my favorite master and apprentice headcanonship, Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Insanity, why are you my clarity?
I looked through GameFAQs a lot when I was writing this video, and this one GameFAQs user, Svedka, from 12 years ago, said they put Zelgius and Sephiran over Ike and Soren. That's a heavy take. Ike. Where do I start with this? Man, Ike has been the topic of discussion regarding LGBT for years and years. Whether it's Ike and Soren, Ike and Ranulf, Ike and Soth, or Ike and Alencia. The big thing that drives these conversations is that Ike doesn't have a paired ending, so who he ended up with in the end is up to interpretation, and that has sparked many conversations. And this conversation will never end because some people just refuse to accept the obvious hints. Go on, White Knight. Tell me all about why Ike isn't gay and marries Alencia, and then follow up on why you're homophobic while you're at it. Let's run through these pairs, starting with least likely to most likely. I know this isn't a LGBT pairing, but it needs to be addressed. And before I begin trashing this pairing, just know that all of the fan art of these two are cute as heck. I love Alencia, and I love Ike. If Path of Radiance was the only Tellius game to exist, there'd be an argument for them being a couple. There really would be. But because Radiant Dawn exists, where Alencia and Ike have a completely different relationship, these two could never be together. There are moments in Path of Radiance where Alencia looks to Ike for comfort, and he gives her very memorable guidance in the epilogue of the game. But Radiant Dawn shows that Ike's advice was not romantic, but instead a callback to him growing up and becoming like his father. And Alencia's appreciation of Ike only exists because she had little knowledge of the outside world. These two not being a canon pair is why I love these games. It would be such an easy ship for the hero to marry the princess in the end, but they break that cliche, and I respect that. Ike and Soth is a strange pair that has a decent amount of support, and it's all based on Micaiah's line about Ike being the father of Soth's children.
Lord Ike, hero of the Crimean liberation, leader of the Grail mercenaries, and father of Soth's children.
And I could potentially see them hooking up a little bit, but I personally like Soth and Micaiah together too much. And besides, I see it more of a respect thing. Soth idolizes Ike and wants to be a hero like he is. I mean, I can't blame him. Ike is very inspirational.
I fight for my friends.
Ike and Kitty Cat Boy Ranulph is definitely a pairing I approve of. I really like this pairing, actually. Ranulph definitely has the hots for Ike. If Ranulph has an A support with Ike by the end of Radiant Dawn, his ending changes. At the end of Radiant Dawn, Ike leaves Tellius to explore the world, and Ranulph's ending strongly hints that he went with Ike by saying Ranulph set off on a journey. And that only shows up when he has an A support with Ike. Also, in the Tellius Recollection books, it states that Ranulph has a special bond with Ike. These two pieces of information and the constant admiration the two give each other throughout the games is strong enough evidence to prove that this pairing could be very real. But there's one pair to rival them all. The biggest, the most controversial, and the gayest pairing of them all, Ike and Soren. Ike and Soren are gay. To give some backstory, Soren is an orphan boy that Ike found under a tree one day, and ever since they've been best friends. And you know what they always say, you should marry your best friend. Throughout the games, these two rely on each other a lot. But on the surface level, it could be read as a one-sided relationship, as Soren is far more openly caring for Ike. And there's nothing wrong being clingy. It's okay, Soren. I've been there. In the Japanese version of Radiant Dawn, Soren says to Ike, "You are the only one that is special to me." Which I don't know about you guys, but that's only something I would say to someone I'm in love with. In the same book that talks about Ranulph's bond with Ike, it says Ike has love for Soren, although the Japanese symbol that they use for love could either mean friend love or romantic love. Most signs point to it being romantic, though. There's one other big in-game instance where Ike strongly hints at love, at the end of a very hidden and very touching conversation in Radiant Dawn between Ike and Soren. Ike embraces Soren. Anyone reading it would assume it's a hug, but really think about it. That's a hug from Ike. Do you think this man is a huggy teddy bear? Nah. This man probably never hugged his father. Up until this hug, we don't see anything remotely touchy-feely from Mr. Ike. Ike is gay. And a big shout out to the Is Ike Gay Twitter account, because they're so right every time. On top of all of that, the Tellius books also talk about how Ike has zero desire in female affection, which confirms his sexual orientation being something other than straight. He is, at the very least, asexual. Sorry, Ike and Alencia supporters, that's just how it is.
You tripping, bro. You tripping.
And I totally approve of the whole Ike is asexual campaign. That's cool, that's great. I just personally see the love between him and Soren. And to support the pair of Soren and Ike even more, Soren has a special ending. Like Ranulf, Soren has a special ending if he has an A support with Ike about going on a journey. This is so canon. I'm just saying this stuff out loud, and I'm just really shocked I even have to make a video to explain this to people, to convince people that they are so in love with each other. Of course, there are some negatives. One thing a lot of people bring up is Soren's character. At the beginning of the series, Soren is flat out a racist, specifically towards Lagus. This is inexcusable, and I can understand why people don't like Soren because of this. But the good thing about this is that through his experience in the games, and through Ike, his hatred goes away, and by the end of the duology, he accepts everyone. It's his character arc. Of course, you can't forget the past remarks, and he should always be held accountable. But he changes, and it shows. Whether you like Soren or not, Soren and Ike is the most canon LGBT relationship in Tellius. Which means yes, there is actual LGBT representation in Super Smash Bros. The only thing that potentially argues Ike and Soren is Priam from Fire Emblem Awakening, someone who looks like Ike's descendant. Priam is either the product of fan service or homophobia. I'd really like to believe that it's more fan service than homophobia, because I would really hope Fire Emblem wouldn't stoop down to Kingdom Hearts' level. Axel and Roxas are gay? No way, here's Shion! But it's okay, Shion's kind of forgiven because Kingdom Hearts mended wounds by releasing the other gayest game I have ever played, Dream Drop Distance, which is actually my favorite game in the Kingdom Hearts series. The counterpoint that I like to use for Priam is that he's a product of Mist and Boyd, and over the generations, the bloodline gained genes that Ike had. Unfortunately, this invalidates another common LGBT pairing, Mist and Jill. But you have to sacrifice some things in life, and that's my sacrifice to make Ike and Soren canon. Despite all this evidence piled here, there will still undoubtedly be non-believers, haters, and harassers in the comments section. I fully expect it. If you don't agree with these because you can't see two men or two women getting together, well, I probably don't want you on my channel at all. But if you're willing to have an open mind for a minute, just imagine these same-sex couples as opposite genders. If their genders were swapped, the majority would ship them. It's only because Alencia and Ike are different genders that people ship them. If Soren was a woman, everyone would be all over Ike and Soren, and it wouldn't even be a conversation. Who cares about their gender? Ship them. Love is love. And if you can acknowledge that, and accept that you may be blind by forced heterosexual relationships in modern entertainment, then there may be hope for you. Tellius is gay. Of course, there are other characters that I would love to talk about that aren't necessarily involved in pairs, but I believe fall under the LGBT category. Godfrey. Godfrey is definitely pansexual. I know he's the average straight Chad womanizer who hits on all the women and wants to sleep with women, but Godfrey is a bit different from your average Chad. He will f*** anything that moves. Like Shinon said, he would hit on a tree if it wore a skirt, so he would definitely hit on more feminine men. Just imagine if he saw a Wall Market Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, he would go gongaga. Kaiza. Kaiza is offensively gay, but hey, at least he's gay. His character revolves around being a comedic relief because he loves Ranulf. Because you know, liking your own gender is funny. Clearly IntelliSystem still treats that as a joke in 2016 with Niles and Fire Emblem Fates, but hey, at least Kaiza's officially gay. Oliver. Oliver is a heronsexual. This man is like, racist gay? He will only love herons, and his love for herons is actually kind of concerning. I'm not promoting his same-sex agenda because it could be potentially problematic. This man would definitely f*** a bird. There are a bunch of other potential ships in Tellius, like Mia and Ileana, Leonardo and Edward, and Jill and Mist, but they're not as blatant as the ones I covered. Tellius is without a doubt the most progressive game by featuring multiple LGBT characters and tackling xenophobia in a brilliant way. Thank you, Tellius, for being so progressive with same-sex relationships, even if you don't outright confirm them. There's enough evidence to believe they exist, and that's more than 99% of games do. Now, if only they actually had people of color in Fire Emblem. What's up with that? Tellius is gay.